All right, man. So, really, welcome to Black Kings. It's supposed to be the podcast. I really, nigga, feeling lazy for real. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't really put the most effort that I could have put into this. But, I'm doing it, and I think that that's at the end of the day. It just matters that I'm doing something. I'm putting an effort towards something. It's a nigga that didn't even not he didn't wake up today, but it's also a nigga that didn't even record nothing. They've been just making ideas, saying they gonna do something, they never did it. We doing something, we talking, we vibing. So today's topic is going to be Black independence, right? And when you talking about Black independence, that goes with entrepreneurship, that is owning your own business, that goes to intentional dating inside of your race. And also, it's just like accountability, especially being a man and understanding that if you're African American, 9 times out of 10, you probably were not raised with a father figure, or you had a father figure that wasn't what I would say should be a father figure. So that's the many boyfriends or few boyfriends that your mom had throughout your life, your other brothers and sisters, other fathers. It's a lot of you talking about single parents being raised in a single parent household, you kind of understand how detrimental it is to a child for you to be raising them without both parents in the household, especially it being just the mom. They can't really cope with reality and be the parent that they need to be at the same time. As you see, like a lot of single moms, they pick up very, very masculine traits, and that comes from being in this false reality where so for instance, when we're talking about income and how much money you make, that is 2026. That's the modern day hunting, is making money. That's how you provide for your household. When back then it would be hunting and building and growing crops and food, stuff like that. Now it's transferred to going working for the MTA, working all day, coming home with some money, and you pay your bills and you take care and you nurture. No more planting, no more hunting, no more building. You're just buying and buying those things. So with privilege comes great responsibility. That's what they don't like to tell you. So I really was gonna do this in 3 minutes, but it's turning into like 5, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, however long it takes to get these 3 points. So let's start with Black entrepreneurship and why it's important, right? So when it comes to being an entrepreneur, especially when you're Black, building great communication skills is always going to get you a foot in the door. Knowing how to network with certain people. Code switching. You're going to have to be able to code switch. You're going to have to be able to talk like a very astute individual to maybe having to dumb down a little bit and put some African American vernacular in your everyday speak, as they like to say, So you got to be able to communicate. You got to be able to know how to talk to certain people to get what you need. And it's not even about being manipulative. It's just about meeting people where they're already at. So I would say think big also. Thinking big is the best thing that you can do as a Black man, because at the end of the day, you're always going to be told that you're lesser. And you know this because if you go back to history, the one thing that we're always reminded of as an African American is that you come from a slave. And my mindset is that when I first heard that, it always kind of triggered me, or to think that I come from a slave, right? But then I started recently thinking, like, why am I picking that part of my history? You know, like if you watch music videos or if you watch a specific music video by Nas, I forgot the name of the song though, but if I ruled the world, you know, he says in there that we come from kings and queens, you know, and it had me thinking, why am I picking my history from this point? Is my history is it that linear that I can only pick from right here? I can't go back even further to here. Why am I picking slavery to say that's where I come from? That I come from slaves? Isn't that demeaning? Isn't that making me lesser saying that I come from a slave rather than I come from these kings and these queens, something more uplifting? Why would I pick that I come from a slave? I'm not a slave. I never was a slave. My grandmother wasn't a slave. So why am I saying that I was a slave? You feel me? So you gotta really watch out for the wordplay and think big. Always think big. If you thought you was thinking big, think bigger than that. You feel me? And genuinely do that if you want to succeed, especially with starting your own business. Because if you start small, or if you start thinking small, what's gonna stop you? You feel me? What's gonna stop you from thinking like that? What's gonna start up your way of thinking to where you're thinking big if no one told you? And it's just human nature for you to kind of coexist. You know, everybody wants peace at the end of the day. Everybody doesn't. Most people don't really want that turmoil or bump heads with people. They want to really coexist. Everybody really wants to coexist. That's really the meaning behind all of this stuff the reason why we're even trying to start a business, the reason why we're dating so intentional is because everybody wants to just coexist and genuinely just be happy. But the world we live in is not going to allow that. You know, it's going to be some social dynamics that we have to navigate, especially as an African American or a black man, black woman. We're at the bottom of the totem pole, and it's time that we kind of rise. So black independence is the most important thing if you want to be at the top. Let's move on to dating with intention, you know. So I was talking to a friend. I told her I would tell my son not to date single moms, and hit me with the misogynist instantly. And I feel her. I genuinely do, and you can say I'm a little traumatized because I already had a kid and it didn't necessarily work out the way I expected it. But I think that it made me a better man. So I feel as though my son can learn from me. He don't have to go through it. So I can teach you before you even start. And you genuinely don't want to date a woman that has already started a family before you got your chance to start a family. As a man, it's about building a legacy. So how are you going to take care of your legacy if you got to take care of somebody else's legacy, you know? That I don't know if that's misogynistic, but I don't think that's misogynistic. I think that's common sense. Why would you want to take care of someone else's legacy while you're trying to build your legacy? You feel me? So, you know, be very intentional when you date, because women nowadays, very sneaky, very consuming, very narcissistic. Social media has turned most women into narcissists. They get so much headspace and boosted from social media, like the fattest, the ugliest, the skinniest, like, and it's cool. Like, I really don't mind that a woman has a self-esteem, but these women are cocky now. It's not even self-esteem anymore. It's like a masculine trait. It's arrogant. It's cocky, you know. Cocky got cock in it for a reason, right? It's getting a little out of hand. So you gotta really be careful and pick wisely. When you're dating, you gotta date very, very intentional, because if you don't, It is so easy to navigate in a hole that you cannot get yourself out of. And if you do get yourself out of it, you're going to have some wounds on you, my brother. And it is not going to be fun. I promise you that. You won't be having fun while you're getting scratched up, I'll tell you. You know, I'm kind of running low on time, so that's why I'm kind of just breezing through stuff. But you know, I think we kind of touched on most of the things. I said I was gonna do 3 topics, but 2 topics is core. We did entrepreneurship, and we did I guess the reason why we need to be black and independent. Right now we're at the bottom of that totem pole, and we need to be up. We need to be a lot higher than where we at, y'all. We losing the black vote. That's been diminished to nothing almost. Even the people that are voting, like they say it's a power, but if you're not in control of who you vote for at the end of the day, what's the point of having the power, you know? So if they can get us to vote, right? But at the end of the day, we still only voting for one party. What's the point of us actually utilizing the ability, right? It's human nature, right? Think about it. If someone can predict what you're gonna do and tell you what to do, and you do it verbatim the way they tell you to do it, or say it the way they tell you to say it, don't you think that you would get them to do what you wanted them to do when you wanted them to do it? If you had the ability to predict what they're gonna do, and you knew if you told them to do it, they would do it, once you would utilize that, you would be a fool if you didn't, right? So at the end of the day, if we are utilizing our voting power, but we only vote for one thing, and it's when you tell us to do it, do we really have any power at the end of the day? So our power comes from our independence, us being able to make our own decisions. So when I say independent, I mean independent in every way. Independent spiritually, independent physically, independent mentally, independent financially, independent politically, independent economically. I said financially already, but you know, you have to be independent as a black man or a woman. I think that I would be talking to mostly men, because I don't think men follow black independence as much as they should. And the only way they do know to be independent is if it's a sport or if it's drugs. And that's not cutting it no more. Maybe 1980s, 1990s, we could rock out with that. But in 2026, we a few decades past due. We're failing as a nation, as a society, in my opinion, especially the black community. Our culture is trash, in my opinion. The music is horrible. It's not such thing as good music. They don't make songs like Dear Mama no more. They don't make songs like If I Ruled the World. Like, they don't make songs like that no more. Now we're getting all these Sexy Reds and Megan Thee Stallion type songs where it's talking about sex, murder, drugs, how to finesse someone. Even R&B music is trash. Where's Chris Brown at? You know, like, it's bad out here. So as a black man, we need to be following black independence and, you know, pushing towards prosperity. You know, I think if we can find some level ground where we're actually running our own organizations, our own hospitals, our own, even just our own neighborhoods. Like, we need to be policing our own neighborhoods, you know, with people that are not corrupt. It can still be a white cop, you know, at the end of the day, but the majority needs to be African American. You know, even just saying African American, like, they're trying to say that African people and Haitian people and Jamaican people, West Indian people are black people. And yeah, they are. Do not get me wrong. These people are black. But when we stand together, are they standing with us? as an African American man, as a black man, do they stand beside me? And I think that the question begs to differ, because I believe that, being genuine, I believe a lot of these groups do not stand with us, and they do their best to separate themselves from us as an African American. And it's pretty disheartening. And, I feel like a lot of trust has been broken. So we need to either work to be more substantial to the community, or we need to work on rebuilding relationships, building rapport with these groups of people, because there's too many good black men out here, especially good African American men that have good brains, good thought patterns, good ideas that will really help the country and ourselves succeed. And we can't do this by ourselves, We're gonna need help. We're gonna need other people. So yeah, if we genuinely want black independence, we can have that. We just gotta go get it, and we gotta do it very intentional. Very intentional. Everything has to be intentional, because if we don't, we won't get it. Black Kings out, y'all. Y'all have a good night.